All right, welcome everyone. It is good to see everybody tonight. Welcome to our Thursday night travel talk. Tonight, our special guest is from AmaWaterways, Shauna Carter. For those of you who have not attended a Zoom meeting, which I think is pretty well nobody, but I'm just going to let you know everybody is muted. You do have the ability to turn your video off. I find we're not seeing people lately, so if you feel comfortable, and we don't care if you're in your pajamas, if you can turn your video on, we'd love to see your faces. There is a chat feature, and if you have any questions, please type them in there and we will answer them either during the presentation or after the presentation. So my name is Lisa Antflick. I'm one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises, and tonight's travel talk is being hosted by the 6 Expedia Cruises locations in the Edmonton area. We have been doing these travel talks for the past year and a half to inspire, to educate you, and to also let you know what's been happening in the travel industry. So we are coming up to 19 months that travel has shut down. It's been a long time. And if you're on this call, you love to travel. Travel fulfills us. That's why we do it. And if you're like me, you're missing it desperately. There is good news. Cruising has begun again. Ships have started to sail. We now have had 3 months with ocean cruising in Alaska, Caribbean, and Europe. And the river cruises also started in the summer. And I heard today about 150 ships worldwide are now sailing. And by the end of September, we're expecting to see about 50% of the fleets up and running. These sailings are operating with the highest health protocols. Cruising is still by far the safest way to travel. At Expedia Cruises, we have recently had passengers come back from their cruises with raving reviews. They were thrilled to get back on board. They had wonderful experiences, felt pampered, and enjoyed everything a cruise can provide. I will say that travel is a little bit more complex at this time. Now more than ever, the need of a professional advice of the travel consultant is imminent. Our consultants are here to help you navigate the new complexities of travel and make sure your vacation is safe and seamless. If you are ready to travel now, we are here to help. If you don't feel comfortable to travel, that's fine. But what I do know is that the time is right now to plan. Studies have shown that approximately 40% of the pleasure of a trip comes from planning one. Last year's been challenging, and sometimes what gets me through it is to think where I want to go next. My bucket list has become a to-do list, and I can't wait to start traveling again. You're going to see later on in the presentation, Shauna talk about AmaWaterways Egypt River Cruise, and I am signed up for April 2022. Later on in the summer of August 2022, I've booked a trip to Croatia. Time has passed, and like you, I have much to make up for. So let's talk about dreaming and planning. Whatever your dreams are, at Expedia Cruises, we can help you make them come true. We are committed to finding you the best value for your travel dollars, and we are more than just cruises. Our name is Expedia Cruises, air, land, and sea vacations. We can help you plan all the components of your vacation. Best of all, we are in your neighborhood, so you can shop local. So now I would like to turn it over to our special presenter, Shauna Carter, coming to us from her home in Kelowna. Welcome, Shauna.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, I'm here in Kelowna. It's still about 19 degrees, but the leaves are changing, so fall is right around the corner, which I'm even more excited about the fact that I am packing my suitcase right now, getting ready to fly out Saturday morning. I'm heading to Budapest to get on board our new Alma and sail from Budapest down to Bucharest. So hopefully the weather will be lovely there as well. Now, did you want me to just go straight into the presentation?
Yeah, Shauna, why don't you start? I'm so excited for you, and I'm envious that you're going. Why don't you start your presentation and let everybody know about the wonderful AmaWaterways?
Great, thank you so much again, and thank you everybody for joining us at home. Whether you're thinking about traveling this year or maybe you're going to wait and go in 22 or 23, we have an exciting variety of cruises to choose from. So what I thought I would do this evening is just give you sort of a overview of what's happening with AmaWaterways, what's coming, what's new for us, especially in Europe, and then introduce you to our beautiful new Egypt program and some other special things that are happening. So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with AmaWaterways, we've been in business now for 19 years. And Rudy and Christine and Gary, they're friends, of course, of all of these wonderful Expedia locations. Everybody knows them well. And that's, I think, what makes, the company so wonderful is they are, part of the company. They are running things from beginning to end. And we just love our travel partners at Expedia. And I've had the great pleasure of working with all of these offices since the day they opened. And they do an amazing job. And they certainly do an amazing job of looking after all of our guests on board. We have many, many guests sailing right now who are booked with Expedia. So you are in very good hands, booking with any one of these offices, and they're wonderful, wonderful consultants. So as Lisa mentioned, we have returned to the rivers. We started sailing again in July. We were just so delighted to be able to have guests returning. All the crew were so excited. All our cruise managers who have been waiting patiently to be able to come on board and welcome all of our, wonderful guests from North America. Of course, we're following all the health and safety protocols, and everybody must be double vaccinated to be able to sail with us. And we were actually the only river cruise line that actually sailed last year as well. So we sailed last year from July to November on the Rhine. Obviously, it wasn't North American guests. We had guests coming on board from Germany because they were right there. But it was a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to see how things needed to change and what we needed to do to keep everybody safe and comfortable and be able to enjoy this incredible time on board. There's the smiling faces, except now it's really the smiling eyes that we see of all our crew who are looking after our guests on board. So here's just some of the happy pictures. This was just from a cruise. Some friends of mine last month in August who were sailing. And then also on our brand new Alma Sienna. This year was special as we welcomed 3 new ships into our fleet to take us to a fleet of 25 ships, the Alma Sienna, and then shortly after we had her christening. Next comes the Alma Lucia. These are our beautiful twin balcony ships that sail on the rivers in Europe. And then, as Lisa mentioned, we also just inaugurated our brand new Alma Dahlia in the Nile, on the Nile in Egypt. So as you can see, people are very, very happy to be back on board, and there's our crew waiting with a welcome cocktail to bring you on board. So once you decide and you've chosen your cruise, of course, you'll be welcomed on board one of our beautiful ships. And you have a variety of staterooms to choose from. This evening, I'm not going to go into great detail on all of the staterooms and all the different itineraries, because of course you can, meet with your Expedia consultant, whether it's virtually or on the phone, and then hopefully eventually, live, face to face, so to speak. But they can go through everything with you as well and help you decide what type of accommodation you want. Everybody's different. There is no one better room than another or better itinerary than another. It really depends on what you're looking for and how you like to travel. But we do have a variety, whether it's twin balconies, suites, French balconies, window staterooms. We even have connecting rooms on some of our ships. Of course, today we see more and more people traveling, maybe with parents, with family. Multi-generational families is becoming popular. Can you imagine grandparents, their kids, and then their actual grandchildren, and being able to come on board and sail through these incredible countries and spend time together and do very different things during the day, whether it's taking a walking tour, a hiking tour, the kids go on a biking tour, and then coming together at the end of the day to have a beautiful meal and share that very, very special time together. Our wonderful cruise managers are on board. They're there almost like a personal concierge to make sure you have everything you need, you're going in the right direction, you know where your tour is, everything that is happening during the week on the ship, they're there to look after you. And they do it with a big smile on their face. I don't know when they actually have time to sleep. Another added benefit as well of having our cruise managers is, you know, today we're seeing people take longer and longer holidays, especially those booking for the future. We can see what people are asking for, and they are waiting to travel. They want to go, and when they get there, they want to stay longer. So we're seeing more and more of our guests book our pre and post land packages. And these are wonderful vacation stays where the cruise manager is with you. We're transferring you from, you know, the city that you're visiting to the ship. You have your breakfast every morning in beautiful hotels and your tours while you're there in the city. And you think about traveling to these areas in Europe, you know, you're all the way over there. You want to make sure you can see as much as you possibly can. And not all these wonderful cities are right on the river. So that's why we offer these pre and post packages. And then, of course, our wonderful crew on board, these lovely folks do an outstanding job making sure that you have the best time possible while you're on board with us and while you're on, you know, ashore as well, taking your tours. And they really are part of our Alma family. So they are just so happy to be back working on the ships. And then our tours, you know, every day when you're on an AmaWaterways cruise, all your tours are included. There's no optional tours that you have to pay for. So you have quite a variety of choices. Our guests on board, their biggest complaint is that they just have, and I know Lisa, you've said this before too, because I know you've taken many cruises with us, is that there's just so many choices. You're never really sure which one to pick, whether it's hiking, biking, or taking any one of our walking tours. And with our walking tours, it's lovely because they're small group tours. You know, we don't have a lot of people with each guide. You've got a local guide who comes to the ship to greet you and then take you off to explore the city or the town that we're visiting. You can see her little lollipop there and the lanyard around her neck with your audio device. That's in your stateroom. And then you have one earpiece, you just pop it in, tap the lollipop, and now you're connected to the tour guide. It's a great program. It allows you to hear them. You don't have to be standing right next to them. You can have some distance, but you can also be, you know, with the group. You can do active walking tour. You can do a gentle pace. You could do late morning if you're, you know, a little lazy that day and you don't want to get up right at 9 to do the tour. You can go on a late morning tour and you just choose. You get to choose. And it's a wonderful way to sort of get some, you know, a lay of the land of the places that we're visiting and some history and understand, you know, what was going on in these cities and towns. And then also, you know, if you have more time in the afternoon, you know where you might want to go back to, because we're always very close to the ship, and maybe do further exploring on your own, because that's always a possibility. We have wellness hosts on our ship. Now, we know today more than ever, people have been, you know, had time to get healthy and to look after themselves, and hopefully we've all been doing that. But if you haven't, it's never too late to start. And while you're on board the ship, the wellness host is offering yoga classes, stretching. There's several classes throughout the day. They're all included in your cruise fare. It's a beautiful way to wake up and stretch and get ready for the day ahead. Or if you're just kind of feeling lazy and you want to have coffee and take in the view that morning, go do your touring. You can always do a class later when you come back. So it's totally up to you. Now, while you're on board with us and sailing in Europe, you'll have the opportunity to try some of the most beautiful wines. We're sailing through some of the greatest wine regions in the world. So every day we'll include wines at lunch and dinner, and they will change daily so that you get to try all those different varietals, different reds, different whites. We often have rosés on board as well. And then we also will include beer and soft drinks for lunch and dinner. Bottled water is always available and it's complimentary. You have a fridge in your stateroom, so you can even you'll get the water in your stateroom. If you want it from the bar, you can ask for it there too. Keep it nice and cold, have as many bottles as you want. Take them with you when you go ashore for your tours. So you always have water available. Coffee, tea, lattes, cappuccino, everything today is served to you, whatever you'd like. So those coffee and teas are always available. We generally had a coffee station in the lounge where you could help yourself, but now today, as it stands, everything we do is served to you. So all you have to do is ask. It's really nice. You're being taken care of even more so. So all of that is included on your cruise. And then of course your dining, wonderful food. We're very well known for our food. We can accommodate all dietary needs. If you're celiac, gluten-free, low salt, diabetic, whatever it might be, not to worry. Just let us know. We'll tell the maitre d's, they'll talk to you once you come on board, and we'll have everything that you need to accommodate those dietary needs. So you don't need to miss out on all these beautiful meals that we're serving and the beautiful fresh baked goods and ice creams and everything and all the desserts and appetizers and again, everything served to you. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, late night snacks. All you have to do is ask. We also have an alternative dining venue on our ship. It's called the Chef's Table. And this is a really special place to go for one night while you're on the ship. It's a 5-course tasting menu, extraordinary, different wines than what you're going to have in the dining room. And of course, it's included in your cruise. So once you're on board, you can just make your reservation and go and have time at the Chef's Table. It's a much smaller venue. It's only about 28 people per night. And so if you're having a birthday or an anniversary, or perhaps you're a group traveling together or a family, you can book it all together and really have a special evening. Every night in our dining room is fantastic, but come in and try the Chef's Table is a real treat for sure. Onboard entertainment as well. So not only will we be, sailing and taking in these incredible views along the river, we'll be stopping in these destinations and doing our tour. You'll have wonderful food and wine. We'll be able to exercise. The sun deck has a walking track as well. If you want to walk while we're cruising, you can do that. We have a gym. We have a pool on most of the ships, massage, a hair salon. You're very well pampered. And then of course, during the day, there's somebody playing the piano. And in the evening, we have lovely entertainment that will come to the ship, local entertainment. And it varies depending on where you are in Europe, and could be singing, dancing, a trio, what have you. So it's really nice after dinner to come back up to the lounge, bring a big glass of wine with you because they'll fill up your glass before you head to the lounge, and then, come and listen to some wonderful entertainment. So that's just a little bit about our ships and what you can come to expect traveling on board. I do want to say that river cruising, we're finding more and more people are taking an interest in it when they look at how easy it is to come to the ship, get on board, be in a really intimate surrounding. Typically our Europe ships are 100 guests for Portugal, and the other ships are 148 to 160 guests, very nice and small. So it's a very comfortable surrounding. Right now, we're not even at full capacity. So at some point, I'm sure that will change. But even when we are, there's plenty of room for everybody to really enjoy the time being in these destinations without having to worry about how to get to the next place. Where do we go eat? What do we do when we're in these areas? We've taken all of that out no worries. And so you can just come on board and really spend your holiday time relaxing, enjoying, and, you know, traveling and seeing these wonderful areas. So I love this map because it really does give you a great sense of how much you can actually see in Europe by traveling on the rivers. And somehow we cut off Portugal. Poor old Portugal's way over there, but it is part of the river cruise world, just to the left, my left of Spain. And so we have the beautiful Douro River over there. You can travel through France with 5 different itineraries, and everything in France is different. So north, south, west, it's all very different, different food, different wines, different history and art history. And then you're in the Netherlands, and, you know, a beautiful part of the world to travel through, as well as Belgium. Germany, of course, the Rhine, you've got the Main, you have the Moselle being probably, I think the Moselle is one of the most beautiful rivers in Europe, and not many people talk about it. It's often forgotten about. I'll just show you on the map here. Here's the Rhine, but here's the Moselle here. It's this little snaky river that comes off of the Rhine, and it's just stunning. Just winds around with all these little towns and castles up on the hill and vineyards galore. And then, of course, you have the Danube, which is actually the longest river in Europe. It flows through 8 countries. So you can see here where the Danube starts just below the Main-Danube Canal, and it flows all the way down under here to Giurgiu, which is just below Bucharest. That's where I'll be heading this Saturday. So I'll be going from Budapest to Bucharest. And very, very, you know, you travel on the Danube, and you've got these beautiful iconic cities like Bratislava and Vienna and Budapest. And then you come farther down and you leave out of Budapest, and now you're going through, you know, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, and just these very, very different countries in Europe, and ending in this beautiful city of Bucharest. So many different rivers to choose from, and we have 7 nights. We have 10 and 11 nights. We have a few 14-night cruises, but, you know, more than ever, I mentioned a lot of people are looking to extend their holiday. They want to go longer, but they don't necessarily just want to do one 10-night or one 7-night. They would like a 7-night on Portugal, and then a 7-night on the Danube, or maybe 3 of the French back to back. And when you do multiple cruises with us, on your second cruise and carrying on, you'll get an additional 10% off each of those cruises on top of whatever promotion we have available for you. So not only do you get to see more, you also get to save more. So it's a great way to really cover Europe and get the very, very best value on your holiday. So I won't go through all of those itineraries because there's many of them. So I just thought I would point out what's new. Some of these itineraries are, you know, you wouldn't think we go there, but there's some really unique and different itineraries coming. And Rudy does a lot of our itineraries. He creates these, you know, programs and comes up with, you know, the most unusual, and I'll fill you in later more on that. But one particular itinerary that I think is really interesting, you know, I mentioned we're up in the north of France, and we've always done Paris and Normandy out of the city of Paris, but what's new is we're adding a one-way itinerary out of Paris. So you can sail 7 nights on the Seine all the way out to Le Havre at the English Channel there, or you can go the reverse direction and add on the incredible area of Brittany. So you'll see the beaches of Normandy, but you'll also go to Brittany. So this is the Brittany region over here where you see Mont Saint-Michel and St. Malo. So you have 2 choices now on the Seine. Here's St. Malo. The hotel we stay in is right by the church steeple. And then there's Mont Saint-Michel. Now coming over towards the south of France, we've always sailed on the Rhone River, which is Lyon down to Arles. And now we're adding a second itinerary, which is the Rhone and the Saône. Yes, they rhyme. It changes at Lyon, where the Rhone turns into the Saône. And this is more of a lady river. It's very windy and curvy and lots of beautiful little villages and towns. And so something, you know, completely different than the other itinerary. You could actually do both of these itineraries. It would be a fantastic 14-night trip in France, and they go the same days. So you can just get off one and then get on the other. So it really is a unique experience. And here you can see we visit the city of Dijon, if you know Dijon mustard, and also come into Burgundy, which is Burgundy Beaujolais country. Very beautiful. Look at this little town. I actually stayed in this little tiny town for 4 nights, and it was amazing. And then we can take you over and see Geneva. Remember, I was talking about pre and post land packages? Well, here's an example of one of those where you could start or end your cruise in Geneva in Switzerland. Now, I mentioned the Netherlands. We have the tulip time every year from March, end of March, pretty much till the beginning of May. And now we've added a best of Holland in Belgium. We kept saying, Rudy, you need to take our guests here in the summertime, not just at tulip season. And so he listened to us, and now he offers a cruise once a month from May to October in this beautiful part of the world, and seeing just a little bit more of Belgium. Now, we have always sailed on the Rhine, but now we're adding a Rhine itinerary where you can actually go to Italy. And people are like, Italy, that's nowhere near the river. But we do this either before or after your cruise. We take you on a coach with your cruise manager. You go through the Swiss Alps and you make your way over to the beautiful city of Lake Como. And we have 3 nights on this beautiful lake. I stayed here one summer as well. I spent most of my time looking for George Clooney, but I never did find him. I found his house, but no George. But in the meanwhile, the scenery was spectacular. Here's the little small village of Bellagio along the lake, and it's you could take a ferry all the way up the lake, and you'll tour the city. It's very beautiful. So something completely new. Now for 2023, we're adding even more. The Danube, as I mentioned, is one of the most beautiful, rivers in Europe, and longest too, but lots of incredible history, not just from those capital cities, but also from music and art. Think of Mozart and so much more. So we'll have a wonderful 7-night music-themed cruise on the Danube. We'll also offer a 5-night cruise. So if you are trying to add this part of the Danube onto another holiday, it makes it a little easier when it's shorter. You get those 3 beautiful capital cities, Budapest, Bratislava, and Vienna. And then you can add on our new land packages. We have 2, 3 nights in Krakow, Poland. I'm very excited about that. Lisa and I have talked about Poland many times and how much we want to see more of that country. And then for those that maybe want to spend more time in Salzburg, because our Danube itineraries all include a visit to Salzburg, but you only have the day. So this way you can take that shorter cruise and go spend more time in that city and explore the Sound of Music and everything else, because there's never enough time to go visit the House of the Sound of Music. So there you can see Salzburg and the 3-night Krakow package. Now, I mentioned earlier that that people were looking for longer journeys. So now here's one that's really long. And we have just been so excited to introduce these 7 river journeys in 2023. The first one was in the spring of 2023, and it sold out in 6 weeks. So we added a second one in June, and it quickly sold out. So now we add a third 7-river journey, which will start at the end of August. And actually, I think this is going to be probably one of the prettiest times to be there, because you're still going to have that lovely summer weather, but you're going to be going into fall. So you're going to get the changing of the leaves and all the colors. I did sail with Lisa one year on the Danube in the fall, and we were just marveling at the colors every night, and a big harvest moon on the vineyards. very, very pretty time of year to be over in Europe, anywhere in Europe, really. And so this particular itinerary, you can see on the map, 3 different ships, 7 rivers, 14 countries, if you can imagine, starting in France in the beautiful city of Paris. And then just by looking at the map, you can see the lines here, all the areas. You're pretty much going to see everything I've just talked about. Maybe you're not going to see Portugal, but you could always add it on before or after or go another time. So again, as I mentioned, you have 14 countries and 3 ships. And when we leave the ship, it's a very seamless, quick transfer. On this particular one, there's only the 2 transfers, and the one is a 2-hour train ride and the other one is about a 30-minute coach ride, and we take all your luggage, we take care of everything. It's very seamless. So you just start in Paris, you end in Bucharest, and it just goes along for 46 days. Can you imagine? I'm so envious of everybody getting to do this. Even though I've done all these itineraries, I would really love to go and do them all together. And of course, this isn't just us putting together, you know, the Rhine and the Danube. And this is a itinerary that was created just for the 46 days. You'll be doing tours that we wouldn't normally include and seeing some really special places that we wouldn't normally be able to go see on our cruises. So I think it's going to be quite spectacular. So starting October 24th, ending October 9th. What a beautiful time to be over in Europe. So if you're interested at all in history, World War I and World War II history, you know, we'll visit the Battle of the Bulge, Normandy beaches, of course, and the World War I battlefields. So if you love to bike, there's 29 bike tours during this 46-day cruise, and you can take the bikes and go on your own anytime. So if you love to bike, this is the perfect itinerary for you. Food, wine, beer lovers, of course, any cruise would work for that. But especially if you love history and different cultures, this would be a wonderful way to see so much in 46 days. So I thought what I would do is just take you on a little visual adventure so you could see not everything, but just give you a quick overview of some of the, you know, highlights of what you're going to see on this journey. Of course, as I mentioned, you'll be starting in Paris, the beautiful city of Paris, and I can't wait to go back. I'm watching these pictures. I'm just longing to get back and visit these wonderful places. So you'll head up to Honfleur, which is out near Le Havre, there out by the English Channel. I love this little town. And here you'll have the Calvados, the apple brandy liqueurs, and wonderful cheeses, seafood, of course, a fisherman's delight here, and so much more. The beaches of Normandy, we will have time, as I mentioned, here visiting the Canadian and the American beaches. And then we will also see Rouen, which is a very beautiful city, lots of really stunning architecture and very interesting history, of course, if you know the story of who am I thinking, Lisa? Goodness me, I want to say Joan of Arc, but no. Anyhow, you'll see it all when you're there. And then we're going to come back. This is where we're going to do our one transfer, and we're going to head over to Amsterdam, and we'll go by train, and we'll get on board the ship to head through the Netherlands and through Belgium, and then come back up and sail down the Rhine and start making our way over to the Danube. So Amsterdam, of course, you know, this incredible city known as the Venice of the North, because of the whole city is canals all throughout, and you'll have a canal tour while you're there and see some of the highlights, of course, of Amsterdam. And you'll have a couple of visits here, so you'll get to see so much. It's easy to walk around here. We'll visit Bruges, and we'll also go, of course, to Belgium, or not Belgium, Brussels, sorry. And, chocolate, beer, French fries, which really aren't French, they're Belgian. So that's always an argument between Belgium and France, because the original French fries are from Belgium and they're very, very tasty. And so you'll see so much of this beautiful area. The windmills, we'll actually go in and visit people live in these windmills and see how they work and everything, and how they control the dikes and such. And back to Amsterdam, we're going to sail down the Rhine, go through the beautiful Rhine Gorge, which is an amazing day of scenery, over 30 castles. It's just spectacular, and come to the city of Cologne. And this is an incredible city, of course, with the cathedral in the background. And we'll have, anytime we come to a city where we might have already been, because some of it we're going back and forth, we'll do different tours when we return the second time. So you'll have opportunities to do all the touring, and then opportunities to try all the food and wine, like Kolsch beer, which these folks are drinking. And you can see the tall, skinny glasses. This is how Kolsch is served. It's actually very good. It's very light and refreshing. Now we're on to the Moselle. Remember, I said how beautiful this windy river was, sailing along here. And look at the vineyards. Every inch of land that is free is a vineyard. And oh my gosh, you see them everywhere. Here's Elt's Castle. The Elt's family built this castle, and we go visit it. And then when we go down on the Danube towards Bucharest, they have a second castle. So very prominent family, obviously. So we'll see their castle here, and then we'll see it down when we're going on the Danube as well. So much to see on this beautiful itinerary here. You can see visiting the Battle of the Bulge, this wonderful castle, as well as an exclusive visit. And we'll do some wine tasting when we tour through the castle. And here we are on the Moselle. Again, you can see what I mean about the vineyards and all the different castles. Some of the castles are in ruin, like this one. Some of them are still, castles that people live in, or they're bed and breakfasts, or they're government buildings and they're tourist sites. All different types of castles that we'll visit along the way. You can just see the river winding. Here's the colors all changing in the vineyards and on the hills, and all those beautiful little towns. So every turn you take on the river when we're sailing, there's always something to see. The wonderful city of Strasbourg, getting all my bergs mixed up, but Strasbourg in France, gorgeous city, because as you come on the Rhine, you've got France and Germany on either side, with Switzerland at the bottom. So you're kind of going back and forth between these countries. And, so much to see along here. So now, sorry, I'm just trying to move this out of the way here. So now let's see where we're off to next. Now we're coming through Würzburg and making our way down onto the Danube, of course, and coming into Budapest. What a beautiful city this is. And the Danube divides the city in two. So one side is Buda and the other side is Pest. So this is the Parliament building side, and way up on the hill is the Fisherman's Bastion and the old Royal Palace, which is now a museum. You can see the hill up here too, with this beautiful monument and the chain bridge in the background. As you sail down into Budapest, this is just such a beautiful sight. I imagine we'll be arriving probably here in the afternoon, maybe late morning. And so you'll see it in the daytime, and then we'll overnight in Budapest, and you'll see it in the evening, and how beautiful the city is when it's all lit up. And as well, we'll do a lot of touring here, and we'll visit the great market hall and such. So I've really gone through this very quickly, but anyhow, here's Vilshofen, and where we have our private Oktoberfest. I guess I kind of jumped ahead of myself. That was the slide. The Budapest slide was for talking about coming onto the Danube River. Sorry, I can't see the slides at the top. So So now we actually are coming onto the Danube, as I mentioned, but just look at this scenery. This is Wachau Valley. There's little Dürnstein down there with the blue church tower. You can see it, wonderful city. And there's a big hill behind there with a castle and ruin that you can hike up to. And the views of the valley here are just spectacular. Apricots. This valley is known for apricots, everything apricot wine, brandy. Along the way here, we'll see the Milk Abbey. We'll visit Dürnstein. We will have a chance to, of course, go to Vienna because I popped ahead to Budapest and missed the whole upper Danube. So I'm kind of going backwards here a bit, but I think you can follow along. Schonbrunn Palace, of course, this is the Habsburg royal family. This is their summer home. It's one of the few remaining palaces in Europe that's its original palace. It's 300 years old. And they have their winter home is in the city of Vienna. And of course, this is their summer home, which really isn't very far outside of the city. But when you took a horse and buggy, I imagine it took a lot more time. Bratislava, here's the Bratislava Castle up on the hill. Amazing city, lots of history, talks of Napoleon and so much more, and lots of good beer and stuff to try. Now we're coming to Budapest. So as I say, I was a little early, sorry. But look at, again, you can see that beautiful view of Budapest. And we're coming down through the iron gates. There's King Decebalus up on the hill, dividing the two countries here, Romania and Serbia, as you go through this very, very deep gorge. I believe this is the deepest area on the entire Danube, is coming through this gorge, and making your way down to the beautiful city of Bucharest, where now your voyage is over. So you can add some extra time as well if you want to spend extra time in Paris or in Bucharest, or even go to Istanbul. You can certainly do that as well. So what's included, of course, your cruise manager, all your gratuities, your transfers, all the tours every day, lots of exclusive experiences that I haven't even talked about, all your wonderful dining, complimentary laundry, your luggage service as we move around, lots of gifts and surprises and delights. Now, this particular itinerary, as I say, 46 days long. You can see the pricing here for this, which I think is exceptional for that length of a cruise. I know some of you are world cruisers, so you know the value of these long voyages. And the reason I wanted to bring this up now is because our early booking discount of 5% off will expire at the end of the month. So the deposit is $6,000 Canadian per person. You will save 5% off of those fares above. And then there's different fares as well, depending on the different categories. But even if you're thinking about it, just get yourselves booked by the end of September. You don't have to pay the deposit, but just get yourself booked so you don't miss out on the 5% off. After that, October 1st, the discount is gone. So we don't want you to miss out. And then you can carry on with your conversation and hope this will work out for you. And then you can make your deposit in that week. So I love this picture because I always love to see that when you're on a river cruise with AmaWaterways, we like to say we have sea days. So that's SEE. And you get to see those beautiful, you know, cities and towns and the vineyards as we sail along. This is our top deck. And you can see the lady there has her iPad, and it says My Ama Cruise on her iPad. And that's our app, My Ama Cruise app. You can put it on your phone, on your iPad, what have you. You have access to your entire journey on this app. And then, you know, you can track everything. You'll see every day where we are, detailed information on every tour, how long they are, phone numbers for the ship, or where we are at all times. So it's an incredible app. You can download it once you're 30 days out from departure, and then it'll stay with you for a couple of years. All your cruises can go on there. You can load your photos. You can send, it'll turn it into a postcard and send it to your friends and family at home. So it's a great app, and we have that for all of our Europe cruises. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, and Lisa mentioned too, we are just so excited to be coming to Egypt on the Nile River, of course, and this program just started a week ago. So if any of you follow us on Facebook and you look at our AmaWaterways loyalty program or loyalty site, so it's called AmaWaterways Loyalty, you can go on there and see all our guests all around the world posting pictures of all the ships they're on right now. And there's so many coming from Egypt. It's been really fun to watch. And as I mentioned, tomorrow you'll receive an email from Expedia, your wonderful hosts for this evening, and they'll have the link there for you to watch to see the ship live on the Nile. So this program will run right now until the end of 2023, as Lisa mentioned. She is going in April 2022, and I'm actually going as well with 20 of our friends. So we're very, very excited to be going. And it's a very unique program in that not only are you sailing on the Nile, but you have the opportunity to see Cairo, this beautiful city of 22 million people. And also, if you want, we have optional land packages for Dubai, for Jordan, and for Israel. So you've got some other countries you could add on as well. So what I really just want to show you quickly is our 11-night package, which is our Cairo Nile cruise program. And you have 4 nights in the city of Cairo, and then the 7-night cruise on the Amadalia. So here's the beautiful city of Cairo, 22 million people. The Nile, the longest river in the world, goes through 11 countries. It's about 4,000 miles long, and it empties out into the Mediterranean Sea. So we are staying here at the beautiful Four Seasons Hotel, right along the Nile. All the rooms will have partial river view. You might even be able to see the Sphinx and the pyramids because they're not far away in the distance there. You can probably see them depending on your room. But breakfasts every morning. We'll be touring each day. Your lunch will be included while we're out touring. We'll go to some really unique places. And then dinners are on your own to explore Cairo or eat, of course, at the beautiful Four Seasons that has about 6 or 7 restaurants. So when we start our touring here in Cairo, you'll visit the Egyptian Museum, 120,000 artifacts at this museum. You'll get to see, of course, King Tut, a highlight of the museum. We'll go to the King Khalili market, the Khan Khalili market, and visit this market, and you'll visit one of the oldest coffee houses. I think it's one of the first coffee houses from 1706. Try a coffee. This is long before Starbucks was ever around. So, and of course, walk through the market and see all the beautiful treasures there. We'll go to the Alabaster Mosque and spend some time there. And then we're off and out to see the pyramids, to see the Sphinx, these 2 remaining ancient wonders of the, of the world, really. And so we'll have time doing that. We'll go, there's the Sphinx, of course. And then that's our touring while we're in Cairo. It's much more detailed than that, but I don't want to, usually I talk about this for about an hour, so I don't want to keep you all night. And if you want more information, of course, reach out to your Expedia consultant, and I can certainly join you one day on a virtual call, or they can talk to you too more about this program. But at this point, we've had our first 3 nights in Cairo, and then we're flying down to Luxor. It's not that far away. It's only about an hour-long flight to get to Luxor, and this is where we're actually going to board the ship. So here in Luxor, you're about 500,000 people, and it's considered the world's largest outdoor museum with all the tombs and the temples on either side of the river. So our journey will begin up here in Luxor. Now the Amadalia, now this is an artist rendering of the ship. So it's not even showing you, it's so much more beautiful. When you see that video tomorrow, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we'll be on the ship. Everything that I talked about in Europe will be available, you know, the meals, the drinks. I forgot to mention we do happy hour every day in Europe as well for an hour before dinner. We'll do the same in Egypt. But here, of course, we're going to try some, we'll have lots of beautiful European cuisine, but now we'll get to try some Egyptian specialties and also some Egyptian wine. So I've heard some stories about the Egyptian wine down there. And so you'll get to try it while you're on board. Now, another thing I wanted to mention is that when you're in Cairo and on the cruise with us, our cruise manager will be with you the entire time, but we also have 3 Egyptologists. This is actually a field of study, you know, they get a degree in Egyptology, and they will travel with us the entire time. So there's only 60 to 70 guests on the ship. Can you imagine? Nice small groups, each having their own Egyptologist, sharing all the information, everything, religion, politics, culture, history, everything about Egypt. So I think that's really unique and really special that we have that as well. So now these are just some pictures again of the ship to give you an idea, but when you see those live photos, it's pretty similar to this, but so much more beautiful, but you get the idea of what it'll look like. Big picture windows and wonderful food. I've seen all the people are taking photos upon photos of food. So we've been seeing that and the menus and such. So the first temple you would be visiting here, of course, is Luxor Temple. And one of the things you have to know about coming on this journey as well is that you have to have really good walking shoes for one thing, and that you can see a lot of the stones are uneven and such. So you have to be pretty sturdy to go out and walk through all these temple sites. They're not going to be even, you know, sidewalks per se. And there is also not a lot of areas for sitting and resting. So you have to be in pretty good shape, you know, good sturdy walking shoes and such. And of course, probably some light, comfortable clothing, maybe a little layering depending. It's usually pretty warm down here all year round. When you're in Cairo, it's a little different, but generally pretty warm down here. Queen Hatshepsut, this is another temple area, and I like this picture. This just came from one of my friends who's on board the ship and touring, and there you get a bigger picture of this particular temple site. But she was known as a very powerful leader in Egypt. All the statues up at the top are, you know, of her, and she has mustaches and she has powerful muscles because they thought of her as powerful. So that's how they showed it. So I don't think she'd probably appreciate it too much today, but back then they were trying to show that she was a powerful woman. A really special treat is coming into Queen Nefatari's tomb. Normally this is not included. We include it. Most other companies don't. And she was the wife of King Ramses II. And very smart. She could read, she could write. They had a daughter together. She lived to be somewhere between 40 and 50. They don't really know, but it's really special to come here and see this very colorful temple site. So anyhow, now we're off to the Temple of Horus, and again, a really unique temple to be able to see. And oh yes, that's the Temple of Horus. I have to look. They're in Edfu because there's a line across the top, so I can't see where they are. But this was built in 230 BC. It's the second largest temple in Egypt. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, of course. And at one time, the whole thing was covered by a sand dune. And in 1816, a French archaeologist discovered it. And so it was all uncovered. But can you imagine, the whole thing was covered by sand. Now, Abu Simbel, this is the only thing we don't include in the cruise and Cairo fare. It's about $450. It's a flight, because when we get down to Aswan, we have to fly down to see Abu Simbel. And we encourage you to book it in advance. You get a better price and we can guarantee you space. If you wait to get on the ship and do it, it might be sold out and the price could be higher. So pretty much everybody I know books it in advance because they don't want to miss out seeing this incredible site dedicated to King Ramses II, so Queen Nefatari's husband. There they are inside the site here. We only get 2 hours. That's what the government says. So you can come in, we get 2 hours inside, and then we have to leave. So if you're wondering why the tour is only in the morning, it's because we fly down, we have our 2 hours, and then we fly back to Aswan. So it's about a 45-minute flight down there. But it's not something you want to miss. They had to move this site. Here's one of my friends that I mentioned there right now. So you can see how tall the statues are in comparison. And so this was this is over 3,000 years old. And they had to move this in the 60s because they were damming the river to create Lake Nassau and build a hydroelectric dam and such. And so they had to move it 200 feet up and 600 feet over. Can you imagine the whole site? So it's really quite spectacular. And here's the group. They just sent me this photo, and here they are outside of Abu Simbel in front of those big 70-foot statues of King Ramses II. There's Aswan. So that's where we fly back to. This is the end of the cruise. That's as far as we go. And so when we come back from Abu Simbel, we're going to take a felucca boat. You can see them there on the river. And we're going to go, instead of having lunch on the ship, we're going to go to a lovely Nubian village and have lunch with a family there, which is really special. I mean, we could just take you to a restaurant, but why not have this really beautiful experience? And each person's home is, you can see how it's all decorated. That tells the story of their home. So every home is different. And I think this will be a really special adventure. Now, Komombo, this is a beautiful temple as well. So we'll have the chance to see this incredible temple. Give me one moment. And then we're going to sail back to Luxor. Now, once we get back to Luxor, we're going to see the Karnak Temple. And this is the largest religious complex in Egypt. It's one of the largest in the world, actually. It's about 200 acres. And, you know, it's just an amazing site. I had a picture here. Look at this. I found this picture from 1914. So this was it way back then. Now the lake thing there is more like they've made it more like a reflecting pool. But the temple is there. That's how it stood in 1914. And obviously it's a lot older than that, but we'll get to go and visit that. And there they are inside. You can see those giant pillars of the temple, and there's the people. So you get the sense of how high these pillars are, of course. And then we have the last temple that we'll get to miss. And this particular one is really well known, especially because of how well it's preserved. And in the front there, those would have been reflecting pools at one time. And so I would love to just think of what it looked like when they built them and go back in time, right, and see all of that. So here we are back in Cairo for our very last night before you either travel with us to Israel or you fly back home. And our last day there will be visiting. This is a special tour as well, not always included. We'll be having a farewell luncheon at the Aberdeen Palace. This is the presidential palace. So the president actually is here at times. And there's many beautiful art museums in the palace itself. I don't think we have time to go into the art museums, but we'll have this lovely lunch because we don't want to have a farewell dinner. The flights leave early in the morning. So we'll have a lovely lunch. And then we're going to head over and see, oh, what is this? Oh, that's out of order. That was one of the temple sites, but sorry about that. Then we're going to head over after having our lunch at the Aberdeen Palace, and we are going to the Hanging Church. And we'll also see Ben Ezra Synagogue. So, and then we're back to the hotel, and that's our last night in Cairo. So now, before I move on, I want to just mention that I know you're building bucket list holidays, for lack of a better word, but I want to tell you quickly before I say goodbye about something new coming. You know, Rudy, he's always cooking up something, and he and Christine have been thinking about Colombia for quite some time. They were able to go down this year and meet with the government and a wonderful touring company that's been there for a very long time called Metropolitan Touring. And we are going to be sailing on the Magdalena River in Colombia, offering wonderful cruises all year round, partnering with Metropolitan Touring, who owns 3 lovely yachts in the Galapagos. So I'm seeing a blue-footed booby in my future, and also some beautiful lodges in Ecuador and Peru. So stay tuned. I can't even tell you anything more about it right now. We'll have a beautiful, luxurious ship, about 80 guests, 80 to 100 guests, 0 carbon footprint. And it will begin in December of 2023. So stay tuned for that. And that is my story, which for this evening, I'll leave it here. I think that's been enough.
Thank you, Shauna. Shauna, you have taken us all through Europe, all through Egypt. Oh my God, I'm counting the days till we can sail away in Egypt, because it just, every time I see those pictures, but just even looking back on Europe, how beautiful those cities are, the history, the food, the wine, the biking. And I really loved what you said about that is really one of the problems when you go on an AmaWaterways cruise, is there are too many tours to think, I want to go on that one and that one and that one, but we can only choose usually one. So we do have some questions. So one of the questions is the issues on high or low waters, and are there sort of specific months that usually happens on?
Oh, if only I had a crystal ball. Well, you know, typically you could say it might be after a very wet winter, you know, where you're getting lots of rain coming in the spring, or it could be a particularly warm spring, so all the snow is melting quite quickly, things like that. And then it could be a very long, hot summer, so the waters start to get quite low in the fall. But, you know, in all honesty, I have to say, and of course, it didn't happen at all over the last, well, we did have some flooding. Of course, we all saw that a bit on the Rhine and a little bit on the Danube, but it wasn't, we were already sailing at that point, and we didn't have any problems. It didn't really affect where we were, but in all honesty, it really does not happen as often as people think it does. And sometimes, and we have the lowest draft difference as well. So if we're not sailing, nobody is, because we can sail the longest of everyone. But you know, it can happen. I'm not going to say it can't happen. Obviously it does. And all I can say is that when it does, we make the very, very best we can out of a situation. And, you know, my parents went on a cruise, I guess this was now about 4 years ago, and it was a particularly hot summer. I had just been there on the same cruise 2 months before, and the water was getting low then. They went in October, and they couldn't even really do most of the cruise. So they created a whole new itinerary for them, because they were on the Rhine. They went up, they got to do all the Netherlands and Belgium. They got to see some of the Rhine, and then they got compensated for their entire cruise. And now they're booked to go again, right? So, you know, as long as you communicate with people and tell them what's going on, and we make the best of it, that's all you can do, right? And at least we can still see things. We can still go ashore. We can coach. If we take you away from the ship for a meal, we'll give you money to have a meal or take you somewhere for a meal. You're extremely well looked after. We want nothing more than for you to have a wonderful time and come back and tell all your friends. So, you know, when stuff goes wrong, we just have to make the best of it and see what we can see. So, there's lots of things we can do. Sometimes water issues are only hours away from changing. You could be too high and 2 hours later it could be low enough. And the same thing, all you need is a good rain and then you've got some water. So, but again, you have to remember how many of these cruises we do every year, and it really doesn't happen very often, but it can.
Perfect. Question, best river for a first river cruise?
Oh, all of them. No, so I've done them all, so it's very hard for me to say. But, really, if you're having your very first river cruise experience, the Danube or the Rhine would be the ones I would start with, because they're the most typical of this wonderful experience that I've been talking about. Now, if you've done a lot of those countries and you're saying, well, I've done a lot of that area, go take a river cruise in France. Go to Portugal, go on the Moselle. I doubt very many people have traveled through that part of Europe. So any of them would be wonderful, but that's why you really need to sit down and talk to your Expedia consultant and talk about what you love. What you love to do is going to determine where you should go, because it's all about you. So, talk about what you love to do on your holidays, what kind of holiday you like to have. Are you very active? Do you love history? Would you rather just be drinking wine all day? Like, tell us what you want to do and see, and then we can make some recommendations for you for sure.
Perfect. Barry was kind enough to say Joan of Arc was
Joan of Arc.
tried
Yes,
and
Joan of Arc.
Yes, May 30th, 1431 in Rouen.
That sounds really odd.
I know,
yes.
you have just a brain freeze sometimes. So thank you, Barry. Question, and I'm not Yes, I'm not sure. It says bus tours. How long bus tour from dock to cemetery? That's from Dave, and I'm not sure what city you were talking about.
It depends on which, because we visit the beaches of Normandy in several different itineraries. So it depends whether you're in Honfleur or we're going from Côte-de-Bec-en-Cas or maybe from Rouen. So sometimes we're in different areas. It's not really long. But again, as I say, it depends on where you are on the Seine and going to out to the ocean there. So, but not like all day or anything.
All right. I love this question. Are those pictures real? Because they are beautiful, beautiful views.
Yes, they are all real. Aren't they beautiful? I mean, I could throw up my own pictures and they would, they're just the same, right? It's just, that's the beauty of Europe. There's so much to see, and the scenery is amazing, and all times of the year. It doesn't just have to be the summer. You can go there in the spring, the summer, the fall. I've done Christmas markets 8 times. Beautiful time to be on the Rhine and Danube. So it's all year round. There's such incredible beauty. They're so old, the history, so much to see.
Okay, wonderful. Best side of the ship to be traveling on when you're going from west to east?
It doesn't really matter, because you're never going to sit in your room and look at the view. You want to go up top to the sun deck. You want to be in the lounge where you have beautiful views on either side. If you're worried, travel with somebody and book one room on either side and you can run back and forth. But really, no, the views are up on the sun deck or in the forward lounge. You want to be there and just take it all in. So, and, depending direction, depending itinerary, there's no real best side of the ship.
Okay, along that same line, are there any environmental concerns with locals for river cruises coming in to cities?
Well, we have been awarded Green Award for all our ships in Europe. We're always trying to be environmentally friendly and conscious and changing things every year because of those very reasons, noise, things like that too, where you can, you're not running engines and all that kind of stuff when you're docked in locations, and you can power up instead. And and things like that. Even right down to bottled water. We're trying to reduce all our plastic. So we use Tetra Pak instead of bottles. We have, disposable straws, that are, what do you call them when they dissolve? And, I'm having a hard time tonight.
Compostable?
Compostable straws, thank you. And, things like that. So the environment, I think the entire world, this is something that's always going on, this conversation. And, I know Rudy and Christine and Gary, this is very much at the heart of everything we do. We go to the Mekong, we're in Africa, now we're in Egypt, and we will be going to Colombia, being able to support these countries and take our guests to these different parts of the world, but being mindful of what we're leaving behind and what we're doing while we're there, and how we support the people of these countries in a very good way.
Everybody's a little concerned about booking and the environment and what's happening in the world. So can you tell us a little bit about your flexible booking policies at this point?
Yeah, so for right now, we have our ultimate cruise flexibility. We've got, I know it seems extremely overwhelming to think about traveling right now. There's a lot you have to think about before you go. You've got tests and papers and all that stuff. But once you get there, I can assure you it's all been going quite well. And you've got the ship and the crew and the cruise manager looking after you. But there are thousands of people right now who are traveling and coming back. And, but for those of you who maybe you might book this year, you might not, and that's totally okay. You have to be comfortable with going. And so if you book a cruise and then you decide, no, you just don't think you want to go, we'll let you lift it up and take it over to another date. You have to keep in mind, though, when you're booking air and things like that, that's when it can get tricky. We don't mind moving the cruises, but if you've got air and hotels and, that's a little trickier. So that's when you need to have proper protection in terms of insurance. We have a plan called the TWP. It's the Travel Waiver Protection Plan. I think it's one of the best out there. It's available for Europe or the Mekong, not for our other exotic destinations, because these are much more detailed itineraries and involve a lot of air and such. But our travel waiver plan for Europe is $175 Canadian per person. No parameters, like no age or length of time or anything. It's just $175. And what this does is you can book a cruise, you have your deposit, you're not even making final payments till 90 days out. So even without any insurance, it's not a huge investment. But our travel waiver plan, you can purchase at time of deposit. Our deposit is 500 Canadian per person for Europe or the Mekong. It's different for those other destinations. And you can, right up until 24 hours prior to departure of any travel with us, you can cancel for any reason whatsoever, all your air, your hotels, your cruise, everything, and anything we can refund, we will. And anything that's in penalty, which at 24 hours prior would be everything, but say you canceled a month out, anything that's refundable, we'll refund, and anything that's in penalty will give you a future cruise credit. So your money is protected, all your air, all your hotel, all your cruise. So it's
no risk in booking. Thanks, Shauna.
No.
One last question, COVID testing on board for people coming back to Canada or the US.
Yes. So as I said earlier, you must be fully vaccinated to even come on board our ships. And as it stands today, you have to remember everything is changing all the time. And as we start to move into the future, some of this will go away, some of it will remain. We don't know, right? But as it stands today, if you come and sail with us like I'm doing, so I've had my tests, I'm double vaccinated, I'm getting on the ship. And then if I was flying home from the ship, the ship arranges for me to have my test on the ship. I have to pay for it. The ship doesn't pay for it, but it's only anywhere from 50 to 80 euros, which is a lot less than what we pay here. And if I was doing land, which I am, I'm going to Istanbul after my cruise. Of course, I'm doing all of this with AmaWaterways because I wouldn't travel any other way. And they're arranging for me to have my test at the hotel, and then I'll fly home. So we do all the arrangements. As long as you're with us, we will do all the arrangements for you, and you will pay for the test. And when you're on the ship, I just want to mention too, when you're on the ship, if you have shipboard credits, you can use those for your PC, for your tests.
Perfect. Thank you, Shauna. You've given us a lot to think about for many people with, I'm sure we've added to our bucket list or to-do list. So thank you everybody for joining us. Travel is starting. It is time to start thinking about where you want to go into 2022 and 2023. We've all lost 2 years of vacation, so we've got lots to make up for. So please reach out to your consultant if you have any questions, if you want to start planning your next vacation so that you have something to dream about and look forward to. Remember to follow us on Facebook. Also check out our YouTube channel where all of our video presentations will be posted. Next week, our travel talk will be Holland America, featuring exotic sailings in Asia, South America, and Australia. Please join us if you can, and thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for your past travels, and we look forward to helping you with your future travels. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you, Lisa, for hosting, and thank you, Expedia Cruises, for all you do.
Bye, Shauna.